Hello, today I will show you how to complete Stage 3 of the Understanding by Design process, where we will plan learning experiences that align to our goals and assessments in Stage 2 and in Stage 1. The learning plan in Stage 3 is based on the Where To learning plan developed by Wiggins and McTighe. The acronym Where To serves as a guide during instructional planning. Here is a brief overview of the entire acronym, however, we will get into detail for each individual section. In the first part of the template, we will focus on the W of the Where To acronym. This is where we will figure out how to help the students know where the unit is going and what is expected and why it is important. It's also important to figure out where the students are coming from and what prior knowledge they're bringing into this unit. In the first part of the template, you'll list your SMART learning objectives. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, results-focused, and time-focused. In the next part of the template, you'll list the benefits of learning this material. This connects the students to why it is important to learn the information in this unit. In the last part of this section, you'll determine how to diagnose student understanding. So how will you figure out what they know before the lesson and what they know after the lesson? And it's especially important that you check for misunderstandings at this time too. That brings us to the next letter of the acronym H, which is where we hook and hold students' attention. This is the time to consider your students and their interests and figure out ways to make the learning engaging. Using technology is a great way to engage students, and here in this part of the template, you will list the specific ways that you will use technology in order to hook and hold your students' attention. Next, we'll move on to the first E of the Where To acronym, where we equip students with the necessary skills and experiences that they need in order to meet the performance goals. In this part of the template, you'll think back to your Stage 2 goals and performance assessments and think about what teaching and learning experiences the students will need in order to have a successful performance of those goals. In the next part of the template, we move on to the R of the Where To acronym. This is where we provide opportunities for students to rethink, revise, refine, and reflect their understandings. In the top part of this template is where you will list those opportunities for students to rethink, revise, refine, and reflect on their learning. And in the bottom half of the template, you'll focus specifically on the opportunities that students will use in order to improve their metacognition and self-regulation skills. Next, we'll move on to the second E of the Where To acronym, which is where we evaluate. So this is where we allow students to get feedback along the way to improve their work. In this part of the template, you will list how students will get formative feedback along the way so that they can improve their work and move toward mastering the learning objectives. In the next part of the template, we'll discuss the T of the Where To acronym, which stands for tailored. The learning plan needs to be personalized in order to fit the different needs, interests, and abilities of all learners. There's a few different ways that you can do this. Consider how you will organize this unit in order to enhance learning experiences that use differentiation and how you might adjust content or processes, products, or personalize the learning environment based on the student's needs in this part of the template. In the next part of the template, we'll move on to the letter O of the Where To acronym, which stands for organized. This is where you're going to determine how your unit will be organized in order to develop the learning plan. So in the first part of this category, you're going to put how it's going to be organized towards learner-centered strategies. In the next section, you'll think of ways to organize your unit in order to be authentic. So you'll think of ways to help your students make connections to real-world problems and engage with the content meaningfully. Then you'll move on and you'll think of ways to organize the unit in order to promote higher order thinking. So this is where you're going to list some ideas that get students to think creatively, use their higher order skills, and create mental habits of mind. Then in the next section, you'll think of ways to organize your unit in order to assess students' learning continuously throughout. This is where it's really important to think about your formative and summative assessments and how they align with your Stage 2 goals. In the last part of the template, you will think of ways to organize the unit around the use of technology. These should be tools and resources available to you and the students that allow you to collect and analyze findings in order to improve the unit and deepen student understanding. This now brings us to the end of Stage 3 of the Understanding by Design process. Here are some available resources to you when creating your units, and if you need any help, you can always refer back to the Stage 1 and Stage 2 videos, and now you can complete the entire backwards design process. Thank you for watching.